Good evening, everyone, to this evening's virtual audit and risk scrutiny committee hosted by Bateleur District Council. Given the current challenging situation we all face following the outbreak of COVID-19, new legislation has been approved that enables councils to host virtual meetings rather than requiring members to be present in the committee chamber when making a decision. This keeps everyone safe by maintaining a social distancing etiquette and allows business to be conducted in an appropriate manner. It is very important that councillors can hear each other, so I will invite members in alphabetical order to introduce themselves and in so doing test their broadband connection. So I would like to do a roll call. Obviously, Councillor Challoner has put his apologies in. So Councillor Clarkson.
Good evening, Chair. Present.
Thank you. Councillor Entwistle. I know he's there.
Present, Chair.
Thank
Present,
you.
Chair.
Councillor Fielding.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Ogle.
Councillor Ogle is not currently in the meeting, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Presley.
Thank you, Chair. I'm here.
Councillor Schuler.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Softler.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Can I say I am Councillor Troop, the Vice Chairman of the committee. However, I will be chairing this meeting as the Chair. As I've just mentioned, Councillor Challoner sent his apologies. We'll also have a number of officers in attendance. We have David Hill, Interim Director of Corporate Resources. Present.
Good evening, Chair. Yes, I'm present.
Thank you. Helen Hinsley, the Committee Clerk.
Present,
Hello,
Chair.
Helen.
Hi.
James Lavender, the Facilitator for the meeting.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Linda Turner, Finance Manager.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Stephen Wormold, Council Solicitor.
Yes, good evening, Chair.
Thank you. And we have Ian Dare in place of Amjad Ali, the External Auditor, is with us tonight.
Present, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. So I can say if a number of members lose connection and the meeting becomes inquorate or the live streaming for public viewing fails, I shall adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes to allow connection to be re-established. Given this is a virtual meeting, there is no corporate responsibility to detail a fire procedure as we ordinarily would. However, I would like to highlight that this committee is being live streamed on social media, so all participants, please be aware of your actions and take appropriate safety precautions from your place of live streaming. Can I please remind members to switch off their microphones when not speaking? Thank you. So I'll now move into the agenda. Agenda item number 1 is apologies. Are there any apologies?
There are apologies from Councillors Challoner and Freeman, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item number 2 is to receive declarations of interest by members and officers.
We've not
Are there any
received any
declarations?
declarations. Sorry, Chair, we've not received any.
Could I just check something? One of the agenda items is partnership and governance and partnership register. And I'm a member of Haworth Town Council also. So do I need to declare an interest in that?
I'm not sure. We'll check that out, Councillor Chula.
Hi, Councillor Shull. Is the Town Council listed in the Partnership Register in the report?
Right.
Councillor,
It's only just
can we now
occurred
move on
me,
to?
and,
Sorry.
I don't know. It's one of the partner agencies.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I don't know which page it's on. Can I look through and let you know? I can message you.
Yes, certainly. Thank you.
Is that okay? Thank
yeah,
you.
I'll look at the report too.
Sorry?
Yeah, and if we carry on with the agenda, we'll look at it.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Thank you for that. If during the meeting a member realises they have an interest, please disclose it as soon as possible. Obviously, Councillor Sheila has just spoken about her interest. I now move on to agenda item number 3, which is the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of July 2020, pages 5 to 8 of your agenda. I will move around members in alphabetical order to determine if you are in favour, against or abstaining, that they represent an accurate record. Please answer clearly and only when your name is called. So can I start with Councillor Clarkson?
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Entwistle?
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Fielding? You can't give an indication on that because you weren't at the meeting.
No, I would say I need to abstain because I wasn't at this meeting.
That's correct. Yes. Thank you for that. Councillor Nichols?
In favour, Chair.
I don't think we've got Councillor Ogle yet, have we?
no,
No. Right.
no, not yet.
No. Thank you. Councillor Schuler?
In favour, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Softlet?
In favour, Chair.
Thank you all for that. Agenda item number 4 is the next item, the minutes for action and implementation list, pages 9 to 10 in your agenda, and these have been addressed. So agenda item number 5 is the outstanding minutes list, page 11 of your agenda, and there are none, pleasing to say. Can I now move on to agenda item number 6A, which is the internal audit progress reports for 2020-21, pages 13 to 66 of your agenda. And as Amjad Ali would have been normally presenting this will now be presented by Ian Dare. Thank you. Ian.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Ian Dare from RSM, the Internal Auditors for the Council. And this evening during the meeting, I'm just going to go through the progress reports, which the Chair mentioned starts on page 13 and goes on to page 66. It is the first progress report that we've produced and presented ourselves this financial year. As you can see from page 13, there's 8 reports that will be presented at this committee. From those 8 reports, there were 28 actions that were raised, 17 of those being medium risk and 11 of those being low risk. If we move on to the actual report now, that starts on page 15. But go down to page 17, go down to section 1, the introduction. You'll see from the graph, we are 5 months into the financial year and we are making good progress against the plan, with nearly 50% of our audits being either completed or in draft or in progress, which is good to see with everything that's going on with COVID at the moment and with our audits that we are taken remotely. we're working well with the council and the key members of staff to still be able to undertake our audits, which is good to see. Moving on to section 2, this is a table that's just listing out the 8 reports that have been finalised so far. You may have noticed report number 1 is not listed. I'd just like to point out that was a follow-up audit, and since the submission of this progress report, it has been finalised. Of the 8 reports, you'll be able to see that 6 came out with a positive opinion, which is great to see, and 1 was a continuous assurance review, which we do not give an opinion for, and 1, the business continuity planning one, came out with a negative opinion, which is a partial assurance, which will come on to the key actions that were raised against that later on. Moving on to section 2.1 on page 19. This is just a section which gives a bit more detail in terms of the key actions that were raised in the audits. I won't go through the key details and findings are listed on pages 25 to 66 if you want to look at more detail of the reports. It summarises the key areas that have been raised within the reports. So looking at loan working, there was 2 medium actions that were raised, 1 relating to risk assessments not being evident in the planning department, and 1 relating to an inconsistent approach within the planning team in keeping teams informed of their whereabouts. Moving on to the allotments review, there was 3 management actions that were raised that were medium priority. 1 relating to the allotment strategy, which was outdated and related to the period 2010-2015, and so requires reviewing and updating. Identify there was currently no procedure notes outlining the processes in place within the allotment service at the time of our audit, and the performance monitoring and reporting of the allotment service is currently not being presented at any major sort of committees. Moving on to land charges, there were again 3 medium priority actions raised. 1 was relating to testing of 20 search requests. Identified that in 4 cases there was a delay in providing the applicant with information. This was not always Bassett Law Council's fault. It was not receiving the information from Highways at Nottingham County Council, which unfortunately resulted in target times not being met on this occasion. In addition to that, there was 20 sample testing of changes to the land registry. Again, 20 requests identify that on 1 addition, the land charges register, and 1 deletion of the land charges register, relevant information again was not provided to the land charges team by the relevant council departments. And the final medium action related to a sample of 20 land searches, where in 4 cases the fees received were short by a few pence on these a few occasions, but also we identified a few other anomalies in terms of how things were being recorded, and also the timing of the last reconciliation was not undertaken until last August 2019. Moving on to the members' allowances and expenses report, there was just 1 medium action that was raised, and this was in relation to the members' handbook, which didn't contain the most up-to-date members' allowances scheme. So it's a case of just having that updated and made available to other members. On council tax, again, there was just 1 medium action raised, which was relating to our idea testing that we undertook, where we were able to do a data quality review of a specific data set, and it identified 76 cases for investigation of potential sort of duplicates in council tax refunds. It shouldn't be sort of worrying anyone that there was that many. It could be a case of there was refunds given to 2 individuals at the same address but on separate occasions. It's a high number, but I know they are getting investigated at the moment. I'll go over the continuous assurance, as there was just 3 low priority actions raised on there. and move on to the business continuity planning review, where there were 7 medium actions raised, mainly relating to the similar issues. So we found the business impact analysis had not been reviewed since March 2017. This was also the case for risk assessments, which hadn't been assessed since March 2017. The council's business continuity incident recovery plan, again, was last updated in March 2017. And the council's incident recovery plan had not been tested since 2017 as well. A review of the council's ICT business continuity plan that was in place found that it was split out into a number of different sections, and a lot of those sections hadn't been updated since 2006 or 2009. So again, they do need reviewing and updating. At the time of the audit, there was no evidence provided to confirm formal business continuity training had been provided to the IMT and all key personnel involved in the council's business continuity processes. And finally, the business continuity management and strategy policy, it was noted that the states that the chair of the council's corporate risk management group will receive reports on the business continuity management, but unfortunately we identified that this did not happen. And then in regards to the housing benefits one at the end, this came out as a positive opinion and only 2 low priority actions had been raised. Moving on to section 3 on page 22, this just lists out the agreed internal audit plan for the year and the progress we're making. So as you can see, the follow-up 1 report that now has been finalised since this progress report was submitted. The Parks and Open Spaces audit has been completed and the draft report has been issued. And then we have 4 audits that are currently in progress. Moving on to section 4, the main points to just raise here is that there has been no changes to the internal audit plan. There has been some movement in terms of audits being moved around due to sort of COVID and staffing sort of resources, but there's been no changes to the actual audits that were initially agreed. And that is it for myself, Chair. I'm happy to take any questions.
Right. Thank you very much, Ian, for that. I will now, members will now be offered the opportunity to ask questions. I will move around members alphabetically. So can I please start with Councillor Clarkson?
No questions at this moment in time, thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Entwistle?
Same here, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Fielding?
Thank you, but no questions at this time.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols? Do you have any questions?
No questions at this time, Chair. No.
Thank you. Councillor Presley?
Yeah, just a comment on one of them, Chairman, and maybe a question on the other. The long working arrangements, I can remember when I was on planning that somebody had a site visit. It's not here, but the guy was shot.
Oh.
He died on a site visit to look after an enforcement party. So it's very important that long working arrangements, especially when you're on, yes, you're out on your own, but you're going to planning places like that. So I think that's very important, Chairman. And the other question was on the business continuity, which was on the why we took that long from 2017 to do these updates, Chairman. I don't know whether that's a question or not.
Right. Do you wish to add any comment on that, Ian?
All we can do is, write our findings on what we're provided with. We've been told that the key individuals who we spoke to and interviewed on the business continuity plan were looking into, getting everything up to date. And yes, things have been sort of missed, but they were sort of getting onto it and getting those implemented as soon as possible.
Right. Thank you for that. Thank you, Councillor Presley, for your question. Councillor Schuler.
If I can.
Councillor Chair, David Hill has raised his hand and wished to speak.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
thank you.
Chair.
Thank you, James.
Chair, if I can just add a little bit more to what Ian said about that. The business continuity refresh and review was being driven by the previous director of corporate resources, and we started that exercise last year, and went through a training session with a business continuity consultant. Unfortunately, as she's not been here for the last 8 months, that has slipped slightly. But we know, slipped more than slightly. We know that we've got to do some work on that, and I should be picking it up now. I'm in that post on an interim basis.
Right.
Thanks for that, Chair.
Thank you, David. Did you wish to come back, David? Councillor Presley?
Oh, just thanks for that. I think, we've got an explanation now as well why we're behind with that one. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Schuler, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, please. Just looking at page 21 with the bullet points, the second bullet point is that it was last assessed in March 2017. I think you've sort of alluded to this, David, but would you look to doing a refresh on a yearly basis? Additionally, it says it was noted that 8 of the 10 current risks documented didn't have a dedicated only 8 had out of the 10 had a current dedicated risk owner. Can I ask, has that been now rectified? And the ICT plan was last reviewed in 2006-2009. Have we looked at this as a matter of urgency, please?
Yes, thank you for that. David, reply to that.
I can't. I don't know. I haven't got information available with me at the moment to tell you whether all the risks have been allocated to risk owners.
Right. Thank you.
I can provide detail on that. And sorry, Councillor Schuler, what was the second part of the question?
Thank you.
The ICT plan hadn't been refreshed since, parts 2006 and parts 2009. I'm wondering if this has been reviewed as a matter of urgency. And also, I asked would we, moving forward, have a plan to at least review the business continuity plan on a yearly basis? Because that to me would appear good practice.
Right.
I'll answer your second one first. Yeah, normally what we'll do is set a 3-year plan, a 3-year business continuity strategy, and then review it on an annual basis. So we'd normally do that as a matter of course. The second one, the ICT plan work, we're doing some work on the ICT plan. And we started this some time ago. We're doing a new ICT strategy, but as you'll appreciate, a lot of what would have been included in an ICT plan will be changed as a result of COVID-19. A lot more of us are working from home, and a lot more will be working from home on a more permanent basis. So that presents a whole different set of problems for ICT in managing those connections from home and ensuring that people have got the right ICT equipment at home for business continuity arrangements. Since March the 23rd, when we vacated the offices, I think we've sort of proved in a way that business continuity worked, even though we haven't got it all formalised and documented. That's not to say, that's not being arrogant about it and saying that, we're all safe and we can cope with it without having these plans and documents in place. But as I say, we'll be working on them, or I'll be picking them up to make sure that we get up-to-date plans in place as soon as possible.
Thank you, David. Do you wish to ask anything else, Councillor Schuler?
Just in terms of ICT, I think the fact that we had to move all employees out into that to home working, I think this just shows why it's absolutely crucial that we have an ICT business continuity plan that's tried and tested. Although, yes, I do acknowledge that a lot of work was undertaken in a short period of time. It would be better to have the plan in place.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Schuler, for that. Following discussion by a number of members on this item, are there any other members who wish to make comment on this before we take the recommendation? Right, if there are no more questions, I will move the recommendation on page 14. Members, please respond if you are in favour, against or abstaining, and please answer clearly and only when your name is called. So, Councillor Clarkson.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Entwistle.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Fielding.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Presley.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Schuler.
In favour, thank you, Chair.
And Councillor Sofflet.
In favour, Chair. Thank you.
And I'm in favour also. So thank you all for that. So we're now going to move on to agenda item 6B, which is partnership governance and the partnership register, pages 67 to 134 of your agenda. And Linda Turner will present this report. Linda, please.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, excuse me, sorry, Chair, to interrupt. I was just wondering if it's still okay. Am I all right to leave, or is there anything else anybody needs me for?
Right. I'm sorry about that. Thank you very much for your presentation and for answering the questions. And I understand that you would wish to leave now. So thank you very much and have a safe journey.
No, thank you, and have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Ian.
Right. Sorry, Linda, would you like to come back, please? Present your report.
Thank you, Chair. So thank you. So this report informs members on the status of the updated partnership register. The partnership register was last reported to members on the 12th of September 2019.
Yeah.
The risk register, the risk management strategy and framework sets out the council's approach to risk, including how it should approach its partnership arrangements. The partnership toolkit sets out how partnership arrangements should be managed and the governance expectations to be followed. So this document has been reviewed and updated in accordance with the principles of good governance from delivering good governance in local government framework as per SIP for Solace 2016 guidance. The partnership register contains information about key partnerships that the council is working with, and the register is updated on an annual basis. The summary is shown in the page on page 69. There's not a lot of changes since last year when we did the review last year. Central Basset Law Forum has been added. So this is included on page 120. And this partnership supports collective working within the parishes. 2 partnerships have been removed from the register. That's Ashfield District Council and Newark and Sherwood District Council. If you recall, this was conservation advice that we were working with the councils through our planning department, providing that service with them. We've had an update on the Bursa Hill partnership with Robert Woodhead Limited. That's provided on page 119. But just to update you on this one, we've now been given planning permission for the first development site, which is on Common Lane at Harworth. They're the main changes to the register. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Linda, for that. Now, members will now be offered the opportunity to ask questions, and this will take the previous form. So I will move around members in alphabetical order, starting with Councillor Clarkson.
Everything seems fine, Chair, so no questions at this point.
Thank you for that. Councillor Entwistle.
No questions, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Fielding.
No, it's an excellent report. Extraordinarily interested in the partnership toolkit, but I've got no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols.
No questions, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Presley.
No questions, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Schuler.
No, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Soffler.
No questions, Chair, and thank you, Linda, for presenting.
Thank you. I will now move to the recommendation, which is on page 70. Can you please respond in favour, against or abstaining? And I will call your names out in alphabetical order. So Councillor Clarkson.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Entwistle.
In favour, Chair.
Councillor Fielding.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Presley.
In favour, Chair.
Councillor Schuler.
In favour, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Soffler.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you all for that. We're now going to move on to agenda item number 6C, which is risk management strategy and framework. And
Chair, just before you go on, I've just looked at the partnerships and there's Bachelor Citizen Advice Bureau, and I'm a trustee on the CAB. Right. So that might be an interest, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Councillor Presley. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Do you want me to come in at this point?
Right. So we've taken care of that at this stage. Thank you, Councillor Presley. So we're moving on to agenda item 6C, the risk management framework and strategy and framework, pages 135 to 160 of your agenda. I believe that is a non-pecuniary interest, Councillor Presley, and that will be noted.
Yes, it's non-pecuniary, yes.
Chair, apologies.
Yes.
It's just, I raised it at the beginning of the meeting about a non-pecuniary interest in the partnership
Yes.
agenda item. I am raising a non-pecuniary interest in that agenda item, and
yes,
Steve Wormold is aware of that. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I've been made aware of that, and that will be minuted. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, can we now look at the agenda item 6C? And this will be presented by Linda Turner. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. So this report provides members with an updated risk management strategy and framework document and provides the assurance to members that risks are being managed appropriately throughout the council. A full review and refresh of the risk management strategy and framework was approved by Cabinet in September 2019, and a further review of this has taken place. The attached document replaces the previous version. There are no substantive or material changes to the proposed corporate approach to risk management, with key roles and responsibilities remaining unchanged from the previous version of the strategy. So really there's no major changes been made to this document since the last one that you saw last year. So the purpose of the strategy and the framework defines how the council will manage risks. It provides guidance on the processes, the procedures, the roles and responsibilities for risk, and it sets out the context on how risks are to be managed. The details are all in the appendices, if anyone's got any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Linda. Members will now be offered the opportunity for questions, to ask questions, and this will take the form of the previous form. So I will start with Councillor Clarkson. Do you have any questions or comments?
A question. I think it's a general one, basically, really, but it's connected with the situation of working from home during the current period. In terms of GDPR and other risk management, has council had to take cognizance of that? And if so, what kind of measures have had to be put in place to ensure that the kind of situation that we have working within the council offices would change in any way? How have we dealt with that? Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Yes, I can partially answer some of that, Councillor Clarkson.
Thank you. Yeah.
We've had different, we do risk assessments for each one working from home. We're going through a process at the moment of doing a risk assessment, a desktop exercise for a risk assessment for different people to ensure that they've got right equipment from working from home. I think what you're asking is more about the how safe the data is when you're working from home on different lines. We have a two-factor authentication process, which we had to do partly to satisfy the DWP requirements. The DWP load a lot of sensitive information on universal credit into our benefits system so that we can do the assessment. We went through a process where we talked to the DWP at length about how we were going to make sure that the data was safe. And we went through this process where it's a two-part authentication process, and you're probably seeing this, and I imagine it's very much the same sort of principle where you log on and you get a PIN number to your phone, and you use your phone then to authenticate. So they were satisfied that that was sufficient security to enable us to do that. Where we've got people working on council-owned laptops, we have got the security on those laptops so that we're sufficiently reasonable that they are secure. So we've made every effort to make sure that all the data is secure between home and work.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, David. It's very good to hear that measures have been put in place that are appropriate. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Entwistle, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions at this time, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fielding?
No, I've no questions. It's an excellent report.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols?
No questions at this time, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Presley?
Thank you, Chair. Just on the COVID secure measures we've had to take in the council. I can't see it anywhere in here. Is it in this part, Chair?
No.
Do you want?
Thank you.
So, yeah, we've not included this in the strategy. The strategy document was produced as a corporate basis, but we do have the corporate risk management meetings that this is being addressed on an individual service by service risk basis. So it is being picked up as part of the corporate risk management group.
Yes, if I can add to that, if I may, Chair.
Yes, yes, please.
We did have a very detailed risk management group meeting where we talked about whether we should have one risk for COVID-19. But there's so many elements to COVID-19 that it was thought that it can't be one risk on its own, but it does affect almost all the other risks that you've seen or you will see in the quarterly risk management report. When you see the next quarter, the COVID-19 information will be weaved into the individual risks. So, for example, one of my risks is the financial security of the council going forward. And it's quite obvious that COVID-19 has had quite a dramatic effect on the finances of the council. So I'll be assessing those within that risk, and likewise with all the other risks. So you will see it eventually, but it's through the risk management group and it's weaved into the individual risks of that group.
Thank you, David. Any other further questions, Councillor Presley?
No, that's fair, Chair.
Thank you for that. Councillor Schuler.
Thank you. Just to say that it is a nice readable report, etc. And the only thing that I have a little bit of an issue about is the risk scoring assessment matrix. I'm just struggling a little bit with some of the terminology, and I think maybe that needs a really good review and refresh.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It is something that is on our agenda, and we do want to look at different ways of actually recording this data to make it more open, transparent, and easy to read. So, yeah, we are. It is on the radar, and I think it's one of those things that we are trying to recruit for this position. It's a vacant post at the moment, and it is one of those items that this person will be picking up.
Thank you. Councillor Sofflet.
No questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, members. We will now move to the recommendation, which is on page 137. Can you please respond in favour, against, or abstaining? This item, the recommendation says that this report will be recommended to the full council meeting for approval on the 10th December this year, 2020. So, Councillor Clarkson.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Entwistle.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Fielding.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Presley.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Schuler.
In favour, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Sofflet.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you all for that. We now move on to agenda item number 6D, which is the write-offs annual report 2019 to 20. And it is on pages 161 to 166 of your agenda, and Linda Turner will present the report. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Chair. So this report provides members with a summary of all the debts that have actually been written off during 1920 and those that have actually been written back onto the ledgers in the 1920 year as well. I'll just move you straight on to 3.7. This summarises all the write-offs that have been written off during 1920. Further details are provided in Appendix 1 and 2. But as you'll see, in total, £461,000 has been written off during the year, and that's broken down between council tax, business rates, housing rents, sundry debts and overpaid housing benefits. Just like to sort of say, to put that into some sort of context, although it sounds a lot of money, and it is a lot of money, but when you look at the amount of invoices that we raised, for example, for council tax in 1920, the amount of invoices that we raised was £70 million. So we've written off £172,000 in council tax, which is 0.3% of 1 year's debts. Same with business rates. We raised £50 million invoices in business rates, and the amount that's been written off is 65,000, which is 0.1% of the annual year's invoices raised. So although it does sound a lot, in reality it is quite a small proportion. As you can see in table 3.5, that gives you the numbers of the amount of rates that we are actually collecting. So our collection rates are really good. So you can see 96%, 99% recovery of all our debts. So that is really good. Just to remind members as well, so it's not all written off. We do continue to monitor debts, even though a debt may have been written off. We will monitor it, and if there's a chance we can recover it in the future, we will do. So during 1920, a total of £118,000 of debts that had previously been written off were written back on again. So that's a really good positive move for the council. Just to break that down a bit further, that was nearly £83,000 in council tax written back on, and 35,000 in business rates were written back on. The appendices give you some more details of the reasons and the number of cases while the debts have been written off, and that's broken down a little bit more, so it shows you number of cases and the reason for those debts being written off. And it is just a last resort that we would do a write-off. So happy to take any questions on that.
Thank you very much, Linda, for a very good report.
Yeah.
There will now be the opportunity for members to ask questions, and this will take the previous form. So I will read names out in alphabetical order. Councillor Clarkson.
No questions, Chair. Just a statement, just to say yes, it's a very detailed report, and also that very high levels of taking in these monies, and it's. I think I'm right in saying that the amount that has been written off, this is written off across the board. If it's council tax, that's council tax that would come to Bassett Law. It would go to the police authority and also to the county council. So it's a very small amount that our council is losing. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
This is the total debt. So we have a proportion. So let me think. So for business rates, it's 40% for us.
Yeah.
So it's not the 100%.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I can just add, just on council tax, Chair, it's about 9.5% for us. That's our element of that.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Councillor Clarkson. Councillor Entwistle, do you have any
No
questions?
questions, Chair.
Thank
No
you.
questions, fine.
Thank you. Councillor Fielding.
No questions. Extremely detailed report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols.
No questions, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Presley.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. It's the question on the high one from the housing benefit overpayment. It's a lot of money. It's got to go to It's got to go to cabinet. Was that our fault or their fault?
I've not got the details of that individual case. We can get that information to you.
I think that would be helpful, Chair. Yeah.
Yeah, we could circulate that.
Right. Sometimes it's our fault, and sometimes it's the payments fault, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have any further questions, David?
No, that's enough, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Did you want to comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say that generally when it's our fault, it's generally used. The ones that I write off are generally usually quite low values, and it's where we've been a change in circumstances has been reported, and we've not quite grasped all the information from it, and we usually pick it up quite early. We've got a team that picks that up, and it's usually quite small amounts, £100 to £200 round about there.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Councillor Presley?
Some of it. Yeah, if you've got the information about, David says it's normally not our fault, but it's a lot of money for one person, isn't it?
Right. Thank you. Councillor Schuler, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Soffler.
No questions, just an observation, Linda, really. It was really useful you giving us the percentage. Like for the council tax, it represents 0.3%. Could you add that to the table in future? So
yeah,
it's just, thank you.
I think it details it in a paragraph, but yeah, it would make it clearer to put it in the table. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll now move to the recommendation on page 164. Could members please respond either in favour, against or abstaining when your name is called? Councillor Clarkson.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Entwistle.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Fielding.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Presley.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Schuler.
In favour, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Soffler.
In favour, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. The next agenda item is item number 7A, and this is the Local Code of Corporate Governance 2020 to 2021, pages 167 to 184 of your agenda. And Steve Wormold will be presenting the report. Thank you, Steve.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, there's just one thing I needed to point out. You haven't actually voted yourself on the items.
Right.
So I don't know if you just want to confirm that you were in agreement to them all, and then the clerk can minute that. I think you've just been going through the other members and obviously not voted yourself each time.
Oh, of course. Yes. Yes, I'm in favour of the, I'm sorry about that. I am in favour of the reports that we have taken.
Thank you, Chair. That's no problem. If the clerk could just note that. Thanks, Chair. I'll move on to the onto the report, the purpose of which is to consider and recommend to Council approval of the updated local code of corporate governance. It's a report which comes to Audit and Risk Scrutiny Committee each year, and then it's obviously referred on to Council for approval. The background to the report is set out in section 3, and members will see in the final paragraph of section 3 that it forms part of the annual cycle of governance reports. And this culminates with an annual report from the Chief Executive and the Leader, which is the annual governance statement. And that sets out whether the corporate governance arrangements as defined within the code are adequate and are operating effectively. And that forms the conclusion of the governance reports at the end of the financial year. The local code itself is appended to the report, and there are only very minor amendments from the code which were approved last year. And I'll just go through those amendments. Firstly, on page 176 in the box titled Openness. There's just an addition which details how the councils maintain public access to meetings which have been held remotely during the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's been done by a combination of streaming on YouTube so that members of the public can watch meetings, and also invitations to Microsoft Teams meetings where the public have the right to participate. And that's been particularly relevant to planning committee meetings where objectors have been able to participate via Microsoft Teams. Then on pages 179 and 180, there's just some details of a matter which the committee are already aware, and that's just the external review of the council's constitution, which continues to be undertaken. That has been paused during the COVID-19 pandemic, but we are looking to get that up and running once again. It's something that was already reported to the committee at the commencement of the review, and it will be coming back to the committee in the future. And of course, there's a working group on which some members of the committee are participating. So that's all I wanted to say on that, Chair, unless there are any questions.
All right. Thank you, Steve, for that. Members will now be offered the opportunity to ask questions. So we'll take the previous form. So I will move around you in alphabetical order. Councillor Clarkson, do you have any questions?
Not really a question. It's just a statement, really. I'm being one of the members of the working party. It's good to know that very soon we'll be able to start work again on updating the members' code of conduct, etc. So thank you very much for pointing that out, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Entwistle.
No questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fielding.
No questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nichols.
Thanks, Chair. No questions.
Thank you. Councillor Presley.
No questions, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Schuler.
No questions, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Sofflett.
No questions, Chair, but I mirror Councillor Clarkson's eagerness to resurrect the Constitution Working Group.
Yes, a very important panel that needs to meet. Thank you for that. Can I now move to the recommendation on page 169? And can you please respond in favour or against or abstaining? Answer clearly when your name is called. Councillor Clarkson.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Entwistle.
In favour, Chair.
Councillor Fielding.
In favour, Chair.
Councillor Nichols.
In favour, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Presley.
In favour, Chair.
Councillor Schuler.
In favour, Chair, thank you.
And Councillor Sofflett.
In favour, Chair. Thank you.
Don't
forget yourself.
And I must remember to vote myself in favour. Yes, thank you for that prompt. And agenda item number 8 is any other business which the Chair considers to be urgent. As there is no other urgent business that I understand to be discussed, I will close the meeting. And can I thank you all for your attendance, and please keep safe, everyone. We all want to be here at the next meeting. And I believe now the live streaming will now cease. So thank you all very much. And there will be a few seconds before the live streaming finishes, I believe. Is that right, James?
Yes, so Teamscaster, you can now stop the live stream. Can you please confirm once this has been done?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, please. Yes.